Dun 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 dun. What's going on, everybody? Of course, my name is Blitzwinger, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome on back to, of course, a brand new Disney Infinity 3.0 unboxing. And I probably shouldn't have done the theme song that I did at the beginning there, because I'm realizing that essentially everybody we're looking at is good guys and girl characters. There's no bad guys here at this point in time. Nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, of course, my name is Blitzwinger, as I mentioned just moments ago, and welcome back to another Disney Infinity 3.0 unboxing. Today we're going to be taking a look at all these Star Wars figures that I managed to get my hands on for Wave 1. I got all 4 members of the Rebels side of things, which is super duper cool. Of course, we also do have Yoda and Mr. Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's looking quite awesome sauce indeed. I really love the sculpts on these figures. It definitely seems like they got the more kind of special treatment, let's put it that way. It definitely seems like they got a lot more investment, because just those lightsabers, all of that, you know, getting all the translucent plastic on that is probably pretty expensive, and they have very dynamic and kind of like, you know, action poses, which is really sweet, and it allows us to play with scale quite a bit, because you'll notice there's quite a few figures like Obi-Wan and Zeb here who come in larger than usual boxes, which is cool. Of course, as you can see, the packaging for the Star Wars figures is quite awesome as well. It's a little bit different to the original figures that come in the lineup. So, for example, I have the box here of Minnie that I did just open up moments ago, or not too long ago, and of course, as you can see, the colors and everything are different, but we do have a similar top design there with Disney Infinity and the 3.0 logo at the top. So nonetheless, of course, let's get rocking and rolling. Let's start with the 2 kind of original Star Wars trilogy, and well, this is not the original trilogy, but let's say the original films, and then this is the Rebels or representation side of things. So let's begin with the one and only Yoda. Open me you must, or must you open me, or however else Yoda would have said that. Nonetheless, of course, as you can see, he's looking quite fierce and quite serious in the shot here in the background. The figure itself looks awesome because, again, it plays with scale, which I really do like quite a bit. Of course, we have the nice little name tag at the bottom, and when we flip the figure over, or the box of the figure over, I should say, as always, we get a nice little write-up for the figurine itself, or for the character in package, and we get a nice shot of the figure in-game. That's the in-game model, so you can kind of compare, like, you know, what the figure looks like as a figure versus what it looks like in-game, which is a really nice touch there for sure. Nonetheless, at the bottom here, we also do get a nice group shot of the figures coming out or will be coming out, I guess. I'm kind of surprised that Vader and Maul are not in that particular shot, but we do have, of course, Anakin, Yoda, Anakin and Ahsoka are part of the starter pack, or Ahsoka. Then, of course, we have Obi-Wan, Yoda, Zeb, Ezra, Kanan, oh my goodness, why did I forget her name? Sabine, Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewie. Now, some of the figures are not going to be coming out right away. Like, they didn't release all of the figures at once, like Darth Maul and Darth Vader. They're going to be coming out a little bit later, same with Boba Fett and such. So, obviously, you have to be on the lookout for those, but eventually we'll get our hands on them, and we will get to play as the entire lovely roster of Disney Infinity 3.0. Speaking of Disney Infinity 3.0, another pretty important thing that you want to pay attention to, especially maybe if you're only now getting into Disney Infinity collecting and playing, you want to pay attention to the compatibility charts, because they're pretty important and they give you quite a bit of cool, useful info. For example, of course, in this case, it indicates to you that you cannot take Yoda and bring him back into 1.0 or 2.0. He is, of course, only compatible with the 3.0 version of the game, so keep that in mind. And then additionally to that, you always get a little bit of a write-up as to where these characters are playable. So in the case of Yoda, you're going to be able to take him into the Twilight of the Republic playset plus the toy box. All characters are always playable in the toy box, so that's something that will be common across the entire line of figures, but most of them have exclusivity to either 1 or in some cases 2 different playsets, so keep that in mind as well. Nonetheless, we had a little bit of a write-up here from Mr. Yoda, which reads, "Wise Jedi Master with acrobatic lightsaber wielding abilities," which probably would read, if Yoda read that, it would be like, "Wielding abilities I have, wise Jedi Master I am, acrobatic lightsaber I use," something like that. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and open up the figure and take a look at the lovely goodies inside. Man, I love that green. That is a very colorful, vibrant green. And speaking of colorful and vibrant colors for the lightsabers, of course, they did announce that they're going to be doing the Light FX, I believe it was called, lineup, which is going to be premium figures that are going to have a little bit more paint, I believe, and the lightsabers themselves are going to light up. They're going to have like an LED in them. So that's going to be something that I'm very much on the lookout for. All right, there's of course the card that you always get. On the back of the card, you get a code that allows you to enter that to disney.com/infinity for some lovely goodies. It's a it's like a digital platform type thing where you get to collect your figures and such. I've never gotten my hands on actually getting there, but maybe I'll do that this time around. Of course, we also do get a little bit of a booklet that notifies you of all the important information about the figure and such, so of course take a look at that. And nonetheless, let's open up the figure. As always, you want to be very careful to pull the back flap first, especially with these figures, since they have the lightsabers. They're not flimsy or anything, but you can see obviously that they could be easily snapped if they bent out of shape or anything like that. So you would just want to be careful about that kind of thing. Pull the back flap backwards, and then there you go. You got the figure freed, and Yoda is ready to take on a whole bunch of bad guys, because that's what he does. But he looks absolutely insanely cool. Look at those eyes. I love how the eyes have a different type of green than the actual skin. It kind of plays on the colors there. I love the action poses that they managed to pull off. Like even here, you can see he's very dynamically posed. He's using the Force. He's got the lightsaber. But the really thing that conveys the action, in my opinion, is the coat. Like the fact that it's swaying in the wind creates this illusion of a much more dynamic figure and a much more dynamic pose than anything else we would have gotten. And of course, he's got his patented awesome haircut there and a nice little detail up at the top of the dome there, and he's got three toes, so there you go. The base is a sand base. I think it's kind of exactly the same ones that we saw for Anakin and Ahsoka. I wish I had them right next to me so we could compare, but I'm pretty sure they're exactly the same bases in that regard. Nonetheless, let's move on to the next figure. Gotta speed this up. We got Mr. Obi-Wan, who's a Jedi Master with Force powers dedicated to defending the galaxy, as are all Jedi, I'm guessing. Here we go. Yikes. Uh-oh, there's a bit of a fail. Come on, I need to use the Force. Also known as a finger. There we go. And let's go ahead and set that package to the side. So as always, we get the card and a little checklist, or not checklist, information piece. As you can see, a much larger size figure in terms of the base and the actual width of the figure. So here's Mr. Obi-Wan. And this is, of course, young Obi-Wan here, not the one we see in the early trilogy of Star Wars. But he looks insanely cool. Look at that lightsaber. I think his, is his lightsaber thicker? It is. Look at that. That's kind of an interesting little factor there. I never actually noticed that before. Once again, very dynamic pose. You can see he is prepared to use the Force as well. Once again, we get the sand base right here. He kind of looks like he's on a sand surfboard, though. Like, look at that. Or skateboard, right? It's like perfectly sculpted to be like that. And again, as you can see, a lot of play around with the scale. They tried to kind of get Yoda to match the scale that you would see with the other figures. And the way you do that is bend them down so that they're not standing up. And obviously then it's a pretty dynamic pose. Like, look at this. If you stand them back to back, they are ready to take on all evil forces. Bring it on, clone troopers. Let's do this thing. We're going to battle. That's just really, really cool looking. All right, so nonetheless, let's now kick things off with the Rebels side of things. So why don't we start with Kanan? Or Kanan. I never know how to pronounce it. Is it Kanan or Kanan? Let me know in the comment section below. He looks super cool. One of the neatest of the figures is definitely this one here. So there's Kanan Jarrus, of course. We got the little booklet there, and ooh, they get different bases. They get like a vent type thing. Kind of looks similar to what we saw with the Guardians of the Galaxy figures in last year's iteration of the game in Disney Infinity 2.0. Very nicely done. I think that they did an incredible job of translating the appearance of the animated design into this particular look. Like, I really feel like the Disney Infinity 3.0 design works very well for the Rebels design, like the animated design. Looks really neat. Of course, he's got a pretty cool lightsaber. I think they have the same lightsaber in terms of thickness and so I think it's a different sculpt as well for the lightsaber. Look at that, because it feels like this one is sculpted a little bit differently, like where it's got more of a pointy edge. That's crazy. Like, I thought they would just reuse the same lightsabers. Like, what's the point? Nobody's going to pay attention to that kind of thing, but clearly even that is the attention to detail that they do. Like, the lightsabers, the shape of the sabers is different, which is really neat. He's got his pistol there, the blaster in hand, nice boots. I love that shoulder pad right there. It looks really, really cool with some lovely details there, and again, looking like a very, 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 very menacing character there, and looks super duper awesome sauce. Alright, so let's move on to the next one, and that's going to be Sabine, the only female character that is going to be opened up here today, but still very cool that she is in the game, especially because there's way more female characters this time around, which is really, really nice. I'm glad to see that. We have Sabine there, and of course the little booklet once again. She's probably got the coolest, the coolest base out of the Rebels figures, I think, because she actually gets a helmet that she's stomping on there, which looks super duper cool. Very nicely done. I kind of wish maybe you could like take that off and put it on, like customize it onto a figure. That could be interesting to try out. She's got her weapon of choice there. Of course, once again, some really lovely details, like for example on the shoulder pad here, you can see some good little print work there. Lots and lots of paint details on these figures. Like even if we compare it to something like Obi-Wan, like you can see he's predominantly only a few different colors. Same thing goes for Yoda. Like if we look at Yoda, it's, you know, kind of a brownish gray, then a deeper brown, a lighter brown, and then lots of green, gray, and such, but not as much colors as we see on Sabine here. Like look at this, there's orange, dark blue, gray, there's so many different colors. Like even on her hair, look at the amount of detail you have with the paint. Like you have really, really, really dark, almost purplish blue in the front here, then it goes into a nice highlight, and then it gets way lighter at the bottom here. Like incredible, incredible paint work on these figures. And I'm really glad that they actually did include the Rebels, because there was a point in time where people were like, okay, we don't want the Rebels, or we shouldn't get the Rebels, just focus on the originals. But I think it's a great idea because A, it incentivizes people to check out the show, and B, for the people that have checked out the show and have fallen in love with these new characters in the wonderful world of Star Wars, now you get to have some really awesome figurines that you can actually utilize in the game. I also did forget to mention for Sabine and Kanan, I think, the fact that she is a Mandalorian rebel with twin blasters and a talent for sabotaging the Galactic Empire. She will be only playable in the toy box, by the way. Same goes for Kanan. He's also only playable in the toy box. No playset, unfortunately, at least in this point in time. Maybe they will add that in the future. But he is the rebel leader who is skilled with both lightsaber and blaster combat, which is of course why he's got both tools available to him. Alright, and then we move on to the main hero. You know what? Let's save him for last. We're going to move on to Mr. Zeb Aurelius, who looks fantastic. The biggest of the figures, actually, in the 3.0 lineup, at least until the Hulkbuster figure comes out. We don't know, maybe that figure will actually be larger than Zeb, but Zeb is absolutely massive. Like again, just for comparison's sake, here's the box that we used for Kanan. You can see it is substantially larger. So you have one of those like larger scale figures, such as, you know, when we got Venom last year and Baymax and so on and so forth. So on the back of the package for him, we get a nice shot, of course, as he is seen in the show, I believe. I don't think that's the actual character model in game. That's actually the way that he looks on Star Wars Rebels. And we get a nice little write-up which reads, Rebel Brawler with I called it a bro rifle. A bow rifle for blasting Imperial forces. Yep, he certainly looks like he's ready for some combat. And he is also going to be only playable in the toy box, just like his other comrades from the Rebels team. Alright, so let's go ahead and open him up. Whoa, that is a very cool bow rifle he's got right there. So let's go ahead and carefully pull back this tab. And then we're going to slide out the figure. Looks like he comes on a surfboard-like shape as well. Whoa, that is an awesome looking design. Zeb looks incredible. Alright, we get a card, we get a little note, and let's take a look at the figure because I am psyched. Whoa! He looks insanely cool. Look at that rifle. There's so much detail on that blaster there. That looks insanely awesome. Look at that beard right there. Looks cool as well. I really, really do like that quite a bit. Nice touch with the way that they managed to pull off the, you know, deeper purple versus the lighter purple. Once again, very, 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 very nicely painted these figurines are this year. Of course, we get a nice base to match the other Rebel characters to go along with the other lineup, so that it kind of like, you know, when you position them out there, it makes sense that they are all from the same exact universe or from the same exact playset, so to speak. We get, of course, some really cool details. Like, for example, he's got 4 toes. You should probably invest in some shoes because it's probably hurting his feet all the time. But maybe he doesn't care because he's Zeb. He's like, look at me, I'm Zeb. I'm the guy that has a bow rifle, aka a bro rifle. I can't believe I called it that. I apologize. Alright, and then of course, last but certainly not least, we have the one and only Ezra Bridger, Bridiger? I think it's Bridiger, I'm pretty sure, but it might be Bridger. I'm not exactly sure. Let me know. Alright, so nonetheless, there's Ezra, looking quite cool and neat. And on the back of the figure here, we can see once again him in the game, or in the show, I should say, the way that he's seen on the show. So you can kind of compare, like, did they do a good job? Does it match? Yes or no, which is really cool. Like, for example, they even got the cuts right on the cheek there, which is cool. Of course, he's only going to be playable in the toy box. We don't have an actual playset for Rebels, but maybe, you know, in the future they'll be like, hey, we're actually making a Rebels playset. That would be kind of neat to see. We've got, of course, Mr. Ezra Bridger here, who is street smart and force sensitive. Ezra uses his lightsaber to fight for what he believes is right. Very cool. Alright, so let's go ahead and open up Mr. Ezra, and we're going to slide the figure out. He's probably got the coolest lightsaber, I'm pretty sure. We've got, of course, the card, the little note. At least out of these guys, probably the coolest lightsaber, because he's got the extra little handle, you know, making sure he's not walking around fumbling with his lightsaber. It's pretty important to get the nice little extra guard around the arms there. And interestingly enough, he's the only one of the bunch that is actually holding his lightsaber with both hands. So kind of gives him a little bit more sway and control over that particular blade. We got a nice little logo right there on the back, a nice little pouch, lots of cool details. Once again, like, look, even the asymmetrical designs on the knee pads here and the legs, they're very differently designed. So that's, again, a very nice touch. And that's the kind of thing that costs a lot more money to do. Like, they could have just, you know, cheapened out and went with one paint job, but they didn't, and that's really awesome. I love when I see that kind of dedication to the product. Once again, as I mentioned before, you can see the little details on the actual cheeks there. The eyes are done well, the hair is done well. Everything about this figure just looks incredibly cool. I wonder if the lightsaber is the same. It seems to be a thinner version, so once again, I don't think there's even one lightsaber that's exactly the same, which is kind of crazy to think about. So nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, of course, there you guys have it. That is the unboxing for today. What I'd love for you guys to help me out with is to let me know, which figure did you find to be the coolest of the bunch? Which figure are you looking forward to see some gameplay for the most? Is it Yoda? Is it Obi-Wan? Is it any one of the members of the Star Wars Rebels cast? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, guys, though, having a fantastic day. Smack that like button, and I'll see you guys later, alligators. Bye-bye, everyone.